Welcome, my friends. Here we are, Friday night. No place to go. The whole city is locked down. The gun club is closed. The archery clubs are closed. The park where I go is closed. So we're here in the Great Hall, giving it our all. Anyhow, let's take a couple shots and spend a little while. You know how we do it, eh? Eye on, little step, drag the back one in, put it up parallel. Just relax, and bang. Okay, so let's just do a little practice here. You know, we almost got Alfred. Almost got him. Yeah, he got away to the Somerset Flats, but that's not what really went wrong. What really went wrong was Ubba. Ubba is an unlucky Viking. My Lord Guthrum wanted to meet up with Ubba down in Wessex. So we waited for them. Ubba came down from Ireland. He had 128 ships, fully loaded, about 4,000 warriors and all their equipment. Unlucky. Unlucky Ubba. So anyhow, he gets off the coast of Wales. Great tempest blows up, destroyed his whole fleet, lost almost everything. Well, we had no choice but to go back to East Anglia because we didn't have enough men. So the next year, my Lord Guthrum comes back, and we wait for Ubba. Unlucky Ubba. So this time, he comes back with 23 ships, not 128. Most were lost. And he landed down by a town called Suet. Suet, they called it, I believe. And Oda, the alderman, came out, the aldermen, and they attacked us before we were equipped, before we were ready, before we had our gear on. We weren't expecting it. Killed about 800 of our men. That was a terrible blow. After that, we never really had the strength that we needed to defeat Alfred. So that's the story and the glory of unlucky Ubba, the unlucky fleet. Anyhow, we'll be back in a minute and tell you some more stuff. Well, guys, sometimes I get asked questions. One question that I was asked just recently was, why do I pull my arrow off the string? And basically, hold your fingers at 90 degrees like that. And when you pull back, you will not pull it off the string. But if you have your fingers like that and you crunch your fingers together, you'll pull it off. So just watch. Look. 90 degrees. It comes straight back. It comes straight back. Now, if I pinch my fingers, so that's all you're doing. You have to have your hand relaxed. It's simple not to do that. Relaxation is a big part of it. Learning to breathe deeply and slowly. Relax. It's a big part of life in general. I think in a little while we'll get Howie. That's the 45-pound Howard Hill bow. We'll take a couple shots with it too. Because in all honesty, it's all about your sight picture. Once you have a standard form that you can repeat, then it's all about your sight picture. And every bow has a different sight picture. An English longbow, with an English longbow, you know, my arrow is over here, but the target will be over here. So you're not aiming your arrow. But if you have a bow that's center shot enough, you can get that arrow so you can aim your arrow. I'll show you in a minute. Hold your left arm out, pull against it. Get your eye on. A little tension on the bow. Every bow has a different sight picture. And once you realize that, you can shoot any bow. However far off your arrow goes, that's how far off you aim. Every bow is different. Every arrow is different. So it doesn't matter. You don't have to worry about the poundage or the type of bow or the weight of that arrow or anything. Just learn where that arrow shoots and shoot that far off and you'll hit the target. Okay, so anyhow, back in a minute, we'll get some arrows. Okay guys, let's just talk about some principles that will help you to shoot any bow. And these are truths that apply to any bow. For instance, an English longbow has a string that's about 3/4 of an inch to the side. So it always points to the left. English longbows want to shoot to the left. If you shoot an Asian bow off the right side, it will always shoot to the right. If you shoot an English longbow off the right side, it will shoot to the right. If you shoot an Asian bow off the left, it will shoot left. If you shoot the English longbow off the left, it will shoot left. If you have a shelf, the farther in your shelf, the farther right your arrow will go. So if you have the same arrow, it's going to shoot over there on an English longbow, and it's going to shoot over there or even over there if it's center shot enough. So the more cut it is, the farther right. As long as you know that, that will be a big help. So these are just sort of general principles. Also, I had a fellow, I can't remember his name, but last week saying that he was holding his bow upright and it was better for him. Well, fine, because it's better for you. But if I hold this bow vertical, you see that the arrow wants to shoot to the left, right? That string is right in the middle and it's pointing that way. Now this is why we can't. Now we're pointing at the target. So if you do not have a shelf, and we don't here, we can still turn the arrow or shoot the arrow more to the right by doing this, because the lower that bow goes, the farther it will shoot to the right. You can see how the arrow goes over there? Okay, so if you have, if you have no shelf, you'll shoot left, or on the opposite side, you'll shoot right. Doesn't matter. Once you get consistent form, you find out wherever that particular bow shoots, and you shoot off that far. But of course, if you're doing this, you don't have to aim as far off as if you do this. Because when the English longbow is held vertical, it will shoot more to the left than if it's canted. But that's okay. Hold it vertical and just compensate. One way is not better than another way. It's what you can do with your way. Do. Anyhow, we'll take a couple shots here and talk about it. Yeah, the variety of things in form, such as 3-under, split finger, and thumb rings, and shooting off the right and off the left, these are all just ways of practicing your form. But no matter how you do your form, there's a sight picture, there is an arrow, there is a target, and you have to be able to see it. This business of, I just look at the center and it goes there. Well, good for you. Anyhow, I'm going to teach you guys how to shoot, We're going to do it in this fashion. Also, I don't use my thumb ring. I have a thumb ring. I made one. I stink. I'm not used to it. I don't like it. I don't find it comfortable. It's not natural for me. This hand is natural for me. So rather than try to practice many styles, mostly I just practice this style. And it's hard enough. It's hard enough, Anyhow, let's go get some arrows and I'll be back in a minute. Well, guys, I was asked by one fella, can I shoot with my glasses on? So these are shooting glasses. They're not prescription glasses, but, it's a glass, right? So you can see that they weren't pulled off my face. Guess you can use glasses and a mask. Okay. Anyhow, back in a minute. Okay, guys. So I'm going to start shooting this bow for a little while. And this is my Howard Hill bow. It's a 45-pound bow. And it's got 5 laminations of bamboo. Makes it very springy, kind of stiffer to pull back. Compared to the U bow like Ebb, this is a very stiff bow, the laminated bow. It also shoots a lot faster. So that's that. Anyhow, it has a I just measured it. I got it at 7 inches, so usually I keep my brace height at around 7 and 1/8 or something like that most of the time. But this is a very, very good shooting bow. Compared to ebb, I cannot group ebb like this. So a shelf does matter. And a drop-away shelf matters, and a sight matters, and a plunger matters. But anyhow, a basic shelf makes a lot of difference compared to shooting off your hand. That's for sure. It takes a lot of strength. The most important thing about form, I think, is strength. Not so much the form that you use, but the power, the strength that you have to hold it there, control it. I think that that's a big deal. More than whether it's split finger or 3 under, or all those kinds of differences. Strength. But it's true. And if you don't have strength, you can't relax your arms slow enough that your hand will stay here. If you don't have strength, you'll be doing the release of the weaklings. But it does take strength, and I was noticing a couple years ago I was over at the range, and there's this guy there that's a personal trainer, and this guy was really strong. He had bought a bow from me, but he was a really strong guy. And even though he hadn't had a lot of experience, he was nailing that target really good. And I realized it was because he had the power to put it there. So there's form, and there's aiming, which is your sight picture. Distinct parts. Distinct parts. But this bow is so much more accurate. Oh, and easier to shoot. This bow, I can actually just about aim the arrow right at the target because it's cut in. Whereas with the English longbow, you know, my arrow is way over on an angle like this. But with this bow, you can almost line it up. And if I use that recurve, I notice that you actually have to put the arrow past it. So it's almost too far cut. You can center cut too much. Just because it's center cut doesn't mean it's wonderful. You still have to learn to shoot that bow. Nothing like a good shot. Well, maybe there's a couple of things as good as a good shot. Beautiful. Oh, it's beautiful to be beautiful. Anyhow, back in a minute, boys. Okay, my friends, I'm going to see if I can show you why I cut my arrows so that they're just the length of my draw. I do not have them sticking out past the bow. Now watch this. If I put an arrow on and I line it up, can you see that the arrow tip is about over here? If I draw a straight line back from that arrow, that tip is over about here. In other words, lining up the tip, it would be out about there. Now watch what happens as the arrow comes back. So it's on that angle, right? But watch what happens as the arrow comes back. Do you notice now, if the arrow is back, the tip is right there on the bow. It's not over there, it's over here. So if you're using your arrow as a reference at all, having an arrow that comes back until it's right back on your finger at the shelf is the closest that you will get the tip to being to the center of the bow. So rather than just taking an arrow and starting to cut a quarter and a quarter and a quarter and trying to get it to paper tune and all that stuff, the old timers simply cut the arrow until it comes back. And that's the way they would shoot. And then they would find an arrow with a spine that worked on that bow. It's very simple, and it works very good. It's easier to aim when it's close than when it's way over there. Now you got to start fooling around, right? But when it's there, you can pretty well line it up. Anyhow, I've said it a few times. Hope you caught on. Sometimes I get asked things too, like, you ever shoot a crossbow? Well, I'll tell you the truth. This is my crossbow. It's a very simple crossbow, and it shoots just fine. I've only ever shot it once. The day I got it, I put a bolt in there, and I went out in the back, and I fired it into the fence, actually. I couldn't get the bolt out of the fence. It was really hard. And I realized this is just a gun. It's just a gun. You know, click, 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 and you're hitting the target. What skill, you know? So anyhow, I shot it once. I was not overly impressed. I find that shooting a bow is much more intriguing, much more difficult, much more of a challenge. And that's why I really shoot this kind of a bow, you know? Anyhow, let's just have one for the road. But yeah, we want to pull that arrow back so it's back right by the shelf. That's the easiest way to line it up. Bingo, wango, tango. But anyhow, I've told you a whole bunch of stuff. We've kind of had fun in that, so I guess we'll see if we can make a movie out of this, and I'll talk to you later. Have fun, boys. Okay.